just a few weeks away from actual Denver Broncos football, and I can hardly wait. And one of the best signs that your team is actually going to be good is when people who have zero prerogative to praise your players, praise your coaches, praise your team in general, they've got nothing to gain from it, actually glow and gush about your team, and that is what we are breaking down in this video and a lot more. If you're new to this channel, I'm Ben. I break down all things Denver sports, and if you are a diehard Denver Broncos fan and you think the sky is the limit for this team, helps me out a ton if you would like and subscribe. So what we are looking at today, I was just gushing from ear to ear when I read all about this, and that is hearing the Utah Utes, the University of Utah coach, come out and just gush about Bo Nix. Now, I think this is valuable for a number of reasons. Utah is sneakily becoming a pretty decent football program. If you look at 2 years ago, they have 3 former Utah Ute defenders who are playing in the NFL right now. Last year, they had 5 picks in the draft, and then 3 guys who were really quickly signed to practice squads and signed to the 100-man roster, at least, including our very own Thomas Yasmin, who I'm excited to see what he does, the former rugby player. So in addition to coaching all of those dudes, we know that he coached Alex Smith and Garrett Bolles, and he's got an eye for NFL talent. It's not quite like hearing Harbaugh gush about these guys, but I would say when it comes to a college coach who understands the NFL side of things, he's a really, really credible source right there. And again, a guy who's got zero reason now that Bo Nix is gone. He never has to face him again. He's got no reason to gush about him, and he hopped on with the dudes over at DNVR. I'll link the entire video down in the show description. Love what they're doing. Zach Stevens is a great interviewer and also just a great podcaster in general. And here are a couple things that Kyle Whittingham, the head coach of the Utah Utes, just gushed about Bo Nix, having to face him last year. And then face him again the year before, and he just talks about how good he was. Now, this was one of the few college games that I actually stayed up and watched, and it was both of these teams were 6-1 going into it, and truly, Bo Nix handled them. It was a mollywop like we hadn't seen, right? It was 35-6, and I turned it off right around halftime, but here are a couple of things that he said. So he threw for 250 yards and had almost his 80% completion percentage in there and matched basically what he did that entire year with 77% completion, which, again, I've said it before. If you did that in a game of Madden, you would go and turn the difficulty up because you're no quarterback should be completing 7 out of 10 throws, almost 8 out of 10 throws, and it's just ridiculous. So he said, first off, he's the ultimate field general. We know that's exactly what Sean Payton wants in a quarterback. He wants someone who runs the whole field, who sees when safeties start crowding the box and knows, okay, we're going deep over the top, or when they're playing back off, we're audibling into a run. And it's just that cerebral aspect that we know Bo has. And you're hearing a coach who's got no reason to give him his flowers say he's a field general. We sliced up a tough defense that now has 3 players right now from that exact defense in the NFL who were drafted fairly highly. And so then seeing here that he's got a high completion percentage and he gets the ball out quick, but a lot of times people have said that quick thing and have cited the fact that about 20% of Nix's throws were behind the line of scrimmage. But what he says here is the ball comes out quick and goes right where it needs to be. And so that's where defenses were giving Bo Nix, and that's where he put the ball. But if defenses aren't giving us that, we know that Nix has the ability to throw it over the middle, which Russell Wilson didn't have, and throw it deep. And so he just raved about the fact that his completion percentage was 80%, and he's like, that is off the charts. If you get over 65%, you're doing really good. So 65% is really good. 80% is literally phenomenal, and he's saying that. So saying that's good, but he didn't even stop there. He actually, of his own accord, brings up the Drew Brees comparison. Now, this is something that, of course, as soon as Nikola Jokic is done with the Denver Nuggets, everyone's going to be talking about how Mike Malone needs to go and get his next Jokic. It's just a natural thing that when Tom Brady left, everyone talked in the Patriots about who's the next Tom Brady for Bill Belichick. And So that is a natural comparison, is like who is going to be Sean Payton's next Drew Brees. But it's cool that he, of his own accord, without that question, makes that comparison of his own accord and says, I didn't know Drew Brees, but there are similarities. Peyton is really going to like the common ground between Drew Brees and Bo Nix. And so that's just incredible that a dude who had to prepare for Bo Nix twice and was slaughtered by him twice, and really probably should be salty and not like him, is giving him more than just his flowers. And then he goes on, alpha dog, great command of the whole offense, and exudes leadership. And you just look at everything that Sean Payton said he wanted in a quarterback in all of the pre-draft press conferences. It was all the stuff that now we are seeing other awesome, credible coaches in the league say we have in Bo Nix, and that is absolutely phenomenal and something we should be very, very excited about. So that is the ultimate compliment to me when a guy who doesn't have a reason to say it gushes about your player. Now, the next ultimate sign of respect and like, hey, people like you is, are you, when I was a former teacher, the quote was always like, if kids didn't have to come to your class and you didn't take attendance, would you be teaching to an empty room? And that was always like my mantra, like, dude, let me make learning so fun that people come here of their own accord. And I think the very same could be said of a program of like, if there wasn't a draft and it was just rookies could choose where they go, would they choose you? And that's the ultimate sign of respect. And so then bring in here Travis Hunter, who is probably he's a lock to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Is he going to come in as a cornerback or is he going to come in as a wide receiver? We know he does both with a CU program and is just a phenomenal athlete. He says, I don't want to go to Green Bay. Everyone's saying I'm going to Green Bay. That's not where I want to go. And they said, who's your favorite team? And then where would you want to go?
NFL team where you want to go to. I mean, my favorite NFL team is 49ers. But if I had to say, I like staying in Colorado.
So pretty cool. Like if I got to stay where I would want to stay, I want to stay in Colorado with a picture of the Denver Broncos. So all this stuff about because of how the Denver Broncos asked Russell Wilson to open up his contract, which every other team does, like all the time. Every other team does that. We just saw the Chargers do that with Bosa and Mack and half their team and do it with Keenan Allen. Like every team does that. And the fact that we have players flocking to us, like players want to be here, and all of the talk about Sean Payton burning bridges with players, we wouldn't have like almost 20 people from the New Orleans Saints who have come here to work with Sean Payton if all of that noise and that smoke was actually true. Next awesome thing here, we're seeing that the Denver Broncos getting all these compliments of a really credible college coach, a top 5 pick in the draft wants to play for the Denver Broncos. And now what we see is we are seeing awesome article here on Sports Illustrated, which cites Pro Football Focus and just how good Quinn Meinerz is, and seeing that he really should have been an All-Pro and that he was the highest graded offensive lineman in the NFL. So not just like highest rated guard, but offensive lineman in the NFL, and really had an All-Pro caliber campaign last year. And just seeing that you have a national source here saying Quinn Meinerz is the best, and you watch his film, and again, not a Broncos source right here. This is just NFL Trench Battle on Twitter. Kind of go through and just be like, Quinn Meinerz is the best right guard in the NFL right now. Like not, no qualms about that. And just watching his tape here, this dude is nasty. Just seeing even on that secondary block, being able to pick up a dude and body slam him, watching him pull there and just knock a Raider to his feet. Really good Detroit defensive line here. Look at that hole that he's opening up. Like I could hit that hole. And just looking at him right here, this nice pull into the side, still holding the edge right there for Javonte. And I just think, man, the Denver Broncos, now that defenses are not going to be able to load the box against us because of Bo Nix's ability to identify that and cognitively switch to good plays, our running game is going to be open in a way this year that reminds us of years past when our run game was formidable, and that is something we all should be very, very excited about. So let me know which of those 3 things gets you the most hyped. Is it former coach raving about us? Is it Travis Hunter being like, hey, I don't want to play for the Denver Broncos? Or is it Pro Football Focus finally being like, yeah, he's probably our top graded offensive lineman in the entire league? Either way, we got a ton to Bo leaving. Just not my jumper.